Few men have the courage to admit it, but most live tired, frustrated, and confused, not because the world is unfair, but because they have been trained to be weak without realizing it. From an early age, they were taught that kindness generates respect, that transparency creates trust, and that those who play fair always win. They just forgot to mention that the real world doesn't work that way. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, reveals that power is not born from intention, but from a correct understanding of human nature. And those who ignore this pay a high price, with time, energy, reputation, and freedom. Perhaps you've already experienced this firsthand. The more you try to be correct, the more you are ignored. The more you explain, the less seriously you are taken. The more you show emotions, the more someone finds a way to use them against you. It's not bad luck, it's not persecution, it's a lack of strategy. The end justifies the means not because the world is cruel, but because it is indifferent. And while you try to be loved, others choose to be respected. While you seek approval, someone silently builds influence. And the uncomfortable truth is that better to be feared than loved is not a harsh phrase, it's a survival warning. In this video, you'll understand why 99% of men will never learn these power tactics, not because they're complex, but because they require abandoning comfortable illusions. There's no cheap motivation or naive morality here. There's cold strategy, silent presence, and invisible control. If you apply what you're about to learn, you'll stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. The question is simple. Are you ready to stop seeking validation and take control of what has always been available to you? If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now, not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. Before any man speaks of power, he needs to face an uncomfortable truth. The need to be seen is the first chain that binds him. He believes that recognition is fuel, when in practice, it is a leash. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that those who need applause become predictable, and those who are predictable become controllable. Throughout history, rulers have not fallen for lack of virtue, but for hunger for validation. They wanted credit, praise, gratitude, and at that moment they surrendered control. The end justifies the means only for those who understand that the most dangerous means is a needy ego. Real human nature does not respect those who ask for attention. It tests, pressures, and exploits. And the more someone tries to prove their worth, the more they signal scarcity. This is where many confuse the appearance of virtue with real strength. Being seen too much generates exposure. Exposure generates judgment. Judgment generates vulnerability. Those who understand this early on learn to move differently. They begin to realize that power does not react, it observes. And while others speak, they build. Psychological invisibility isn't absence, it's positioning, it's acting for results, not for applause. The experienced mentor teaches, let them underestimate you. This isn't romantic humility, it's cold strategy. While the environment believes you're just another one, you gain space to build your own loyal armies, people, skills, resources, and a silent reputation. A simple example. At work, stop announcing everything you do. Deliver more than you promise, and speak less than you know. In relationships, avoid justifying decisions. Well-placed silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates power asymmetry. Instead of posting every victory, invest in invisible assets, strategic reading like The Prince, the study of human behavior, emotional mastery. Constant adaptability begins when you stop performing and start observing. The powerful man understands that public recognition is an inflated currency. Real influence grows away from the spotlight, and those who learn to operate without an audience begin to realize something unsettling. The less they try to be seen, the more relevant they become. Moving like a ghost doesn't mean disappearing from the world, but controlling when and how to appear. The calculated use of force begins precisely here. Knowing when to act and when not to act. The mentor often jokes that the weak man wants to be remembered. The strong man chooses to be felt. By detaching himself from his image, something curious happens. He stops being a hostage to the judgment of others. He no longer needs to seem good, only to be effective. This protects him from direct attacks, avoids being hated, and puts him off the emotional radar of others. It is at this stage that decisions based on real human nature begin to replace impulses. He understands that excessive exposure wears down, while mystery preserves. Gradually, absence ceases to be a void and becomes a message. People begin to wonder where he is, what he knows, what he thinks. And when absence generates tension, something new is born in the environment, something that no longer has to do with approval, but with silent emotional control. Every social environment has an invisible currency circulating, and it's not affection nor admiration, it's feeling. The man who understands power learns to control what others feel when he enters the room. It's not terror, it's not shouting, it's not cheap aggression. It's cautious respect, that brief silence that arises when someone perceives that something unpredictable is present. Machiavelli was direct when he stated that it is better to be feared than loved, because love depends on mood, while strategic fear depends on reading real human nature. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that people obey not out of kindness, but out of emotional calculation. Those who seek to be liked give up advantage. Those who accept being feared avoid being hated by maintaining clear boundaries. The end justifies the means when the means are emotional coherence. The powerful man does not beg for respect, he establishes it in the environment. And this begins long before any confrontation. It begins in the way he behaves when no one is testing him. Unpredictability is the first silent weapon. The mentor always advises, break patterns. If you always react the same way, you become an open manual. Alternate silence with presence, cordiality with distance. Never make it clear what you are thinking. Well-placed silence generates productive paranoia. People start filling the void with projections and almost always exaggerate. Then comes the calculated use of force. Remain calm 95% of the time and be absolutely firm the remaining 5%. A single moment of cold, definitive consequence reprograms how they approach you. It's not about frequent punishment, it's about memorable punishment. Think of respected leaders. They don't threaten all the time, but when they act, they don't back down. This builds their own loyal armies, because those who observe understand that there is no chaos there, only criteria. Strategic fear is not born from brutality, but from consistency. Absence, when used well, becomes a powerful weapon. Disappearing when your presence is expected disrupts the emotional balance of the environment. Unfinished conversations echo more than long speeches. The human mind hates gaps and tries to fill them on its own. This is where many err, by over-explaining, justifying decisions, defending themselves. Explaining is submission disguised as politeness. The strategic man understands that the more he speaks, the more material he provides to be used against him. By not defending himself, he forces the other to live with doubt, and doubt generates cautious respect. This invisible control prepares the ground for something even more sophisticated, a presence that dominates without being too apparent, an influence that grows in the shadows. When fear stabilizes, it ceases to be an emotion and becomes atmosphere. There is a level of power that makes no noise, asks no permission, and does not compete for attention. It simply is there. The highest form of domination occurs when no one notices who is really running the game. The experienced mentor often says that men are distracted by the noisy ruler, but forget to observe the shadow behind the throne. It is in that shadow that real control resides. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that those who are too visible become targets, while those who influence silently remain untouched. The wise man understands that presence is not volume, but density. He doesn't need to speak much because the environment already senses him, and the less he tries to prove something, the more others project their intentions, capabilities, and strength onto him. The appearance of virtue at this stage is replaced by silent coherence. He does not compete for space. He redefines space simply by existing in it, and this confuses those who still believe that power needs to be displayed. Applying this principle requires emotional maturity and strategic vision. Disappearing from the scene doesn't mean abandoning the game, but choosing a different angle. A practical example. In meetings, he lets others speak, debate, and compete for credit. Meanwhile, he observes patterns, alliances, and weaknesses. Then, in subtle, individual conversations, he guides decisions without appearing to command. Discreet suggestions shape paths more efficiently than direct orders. This is the calculated use of force in its most refined form. He allows others to take visible credit while he builds real results. Thus, he avoids being hated and keeps his position out of the spotlight of direct attacks. Over time, people begin to seek him out, not because he demands it, but because they perceive that decisions pass through him. This is how loyal and dedicated armies are formed, not through imposition, but through the perception of silent competence. Operating in the shadows also protects against emotional traps. Those who expose themselves too much need to defend themselves too much. Those who explain themselves too much lose room for maneuver. The man who masters this stage listens to everyone but reveals little. He understands that information is asymmetrical by nature. Those who speak give power. Those who observe accumulate. Constant adaptability arises from this fluid positioning, where he can advance, retreat, or disappear without explanation. Gradually, his invisible presence begins to weigh more than the long speeches of others. When someone tries to confront him, they realize there is nothing to hold on to. There are no phrases to distort, no promises to demand, only already consolidated results. And when control is exercised without direct contact, the need for something even more solid arises. A persona so well constructed that no one dares to cross it. There's a truth few accept. Perception is more powerful than truth. The wise mentor repeats this not out of cynicism, but as an accurate reading of real human nature. Machiavelli already warned that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you truly are. Therefore, politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands the conscious construction of a persona. It's not about lying, but about strategy. The man who becomes powerful understands that the right image functions as armor. It filters attacks, confuses others' intentions, and preserves his essence away from prying eyes. The appearance of virtue here is not moral naivete, it's social calculation. He carefully chooses what he shows, what he hides, and above all, what he leaves open. Mystery is not vanity, it's protection. The less predictable he is, the less accessible he becomes. And excessive accessibility always comes at a price. The construction of this persona follows simple, yet demanding rules. He speaks little, but when he does, he shifts the atmosphere. Every word has weight, every silence has a purpose. Instead of over-explaining, he leaves sentences incomplete, ideas suspended. This forces others to think, interpret, and often overestimate. The calculated use of force is even evident in his body language. Economical movements, stable posture, calm gaze, no excessive gestures or impulsive reactions. A practical example? In discussions, he doesn't react in the heat of the moment. He listens, pauses, and responds only when necessary. This emotional economy creates instant authority. By moving rarely but with impact, he effortlessly alters the landscape. Gradually, people begin to adjust their behavior around him, not out of explicit fear but out of silent respect. And respect, when it doesn't require explanation, is a high form of control. Protecting this image is as important as building it. The mentor teaches, don't overshare, don't over-explain, don't argue. Every excess of transparency opens a crack. Every public outburst becomes future ammunition. The untouchable man understands that revealing humanity, desires, pains, fears can be therapeutic in safe environments, but fatal in arenas of power. His reputation needs to be self-sustaining, not dependent on constant defenses. He avoids being hated precisely because he doesn't offer clear points of attack. He listens to everyone, absorbs information, but never emotionally belongs to anyone. This strategic distance preserves his freedom, and when emotions try to pull him back into the impulsive game, he realizes there is still one last chain to be cut, the one that links decision to raw emotion. As long as a man remains chained to his own emotions, he will continue to be predictable, and predictability is the raw material for manipulation. The mentor often says bluntly that emotion is the leash and logic is the sword. Not because feeling is wrong, but because acting on impulse almost always hands control over to the other. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that the world does not reward those who feel more, but those who decide better. The strategic man learns to observe his own anger, fear, anxiety, and even love as signals, not as orders. He feels everything, but does not react immediately. This interval between stimulus and response is where real power is born. The end justifies the means when the means is absolute self-control. Those who explode lose ground. Those who over-explain try to clean up the mess afterward. But those who remain serene force the environment to adjust to their rhythm. And that completely changes the game. Emotional transcendence doesn't require artificial coldness, but inner discipline. Emotions scream, pressure, try to hijack decisions, and the powerful man learns to let them scream while choosing silence. He speaks only when it advances his position. Stop seeking justice, the mentor teaches, because justice is a comfortable myth for those without power. The world works by incentives, not by merit. A practical example: in conflicts, he doesn't try to prove he's right. He assesses whether it's worth winning that battle or whether strategic retreat preserves emotional and reputational capital. Instead of seeking to be seen as good, he chooses to be effective. This avoids being hated and keeps his image intact. Decisions based on real human nature replace naive moral impulses. Little by little, he realizes that each avoided reaction increases his room for maneuver. At this stage, the transformation is silent but profound. Emotion ceases to be the master and becomes a tool. Pain transforms into data, information about limits, errors, and necessary adjustments. Love becomes leverage, not dependence. Loss ceases to be tragedy and becomes recalibration. Internal questions change completely. It's no longer, is this fair, or will they like me? But does this increase my power, and does this strengthen my position? This shift in perspective reorganizes priorities and eliminates emotional waste. The man who arrives here no longer reacts to the system, he reads it. And by understanding that emotions are just another variable, he begins to perceive something greater. The real risk now is not chaos nor weakness, but the comfort that tries to pull him back into the invisible cage. After a man breaks free from weakness, the danger is no longer fear or insecurity, it's comfort. The experienced mentor warns that many fall not because of external attacks, but because of internal laxity. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, shows that the system always tries to tame those who escape. Invitations, praise, belonging, promises of stability. All this seems like reward, but it functions as a gilded cage. The man who understands power never abandons the throne to receive applause. He knows that excessive acceptance demands emotional loyalty, and emotional loyalty generates predictability. The end justifies the means when the means is to preserve strategic autonomy. He maintains a distance between who he really is and what others see. The mask circulates in the world. The real man remains protected. This is not coldness, it's long-term survival. Whoever confuses comfort with victory ends up returning power without realizing it. The rules for maintaining power are simple, but they demand constant vigilance. Never belong to anyone, not to a crowd, not to a movement, not to an ideology. Belonging creates obligation. Obligation creates emotional blackmail. The mentor advises, listen to everyone, absorb information, but don't reveal anything that isn't necessary. Information is asymmetrical by nature, and those who talk too much expose themselves. Unpredictability here isn't chaos, it's protection. By varying routines, responses, and public positions, he prevents the system from categorizing him. A practical example: avoid taking an emotional stance in debates that demand blind alignment. Instead, observe, learn, and act when the cost-benefit is clear. Decisions based on real human nature replace ideological impulses. Thus, he avoids being hated and remains above the fray, while others wear themselves out trying to prove belonging. The more invisible the strategy, the more undeniable the impact. The man who masters this stage realizes he doesn't need to explain anything. The results speak for themselves. The calculated use of force appears in the ability to disappear when convenient and reappear when necessary, always in a favorable position. Constant adaptability keeps power fluid, never rigid. He doesn't react to the system, he traverses it. And by staying outside the emotional cage of recognition and comfort, something curious happens. He begins to be treated as a silent reference. He isn't called upon everywhere, but he is remembered in decisive moments. He isn't loved, but he is respected. He isn't attacked because he doesn't offer access. And when someone tries to pull him back into the common game, he already understands that he has reached the final point of transformation, the point where man stops seeking space in the world and begins to shape the world around him. Now that you've come this far, one thing needs to be clear. This knowledge isn't for entertainment. It demands choice. Everything presented here isn't pretty theory or stage philosophy. It's practical decisions based on real human nature. The world has never been against you. It only responds to strength, clarity, and strategy. When you understand this, you stop fighting against people and start organizing the chessboard. Real power doesn't shout, doesn't beg, and doesn't justify itself. It acts, adjusts, and endures. The question that remains isn't whether this works. The question is, what are you going to do with it now? Will you continue over-explaining, reacting emotionally, and seeking approval? Or will you start choosing silence, positioning, and calculation? Will you use your emotions as a compass or as strategic fuel? Will you accept the comfort of the cage or sustain the discipline that builds something greater? Every time you hesitate, ask yourself, does this increase my power or strengthen my weakness? This single question changes simple every day. Decisions at work, in relationships, in conflicts, and even in silence. If this video made you see the world differently, then it has already served its purpose. But knowledge without application becomes just another comfortable illusion. Start small today. Talk less, observe more, choose your battles, build your presence, and remember, you don't need to be loved to win. You need to be respected by those who matter, including yourself. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep learning about power, strategy, and real human behavior. Because once you understand the game, it no longer makes sense to play like everyone else.